Welcome everyone. Let's discuss the physics part of NEET 2023 question paper. I will be discussing E1 code question paper, and we should remember that for different codes, not only the questions are arranged in different orders, it is seen that the options are also arranged in the different order. So please check according to your question booklet number or the code. The first question says that there's a wire and this wire is suspended from a ceiling and it is traced by a particular weight W. The cross-sectional area of the wire is given to be A, and we are supposed to calculate the longitudinal stress on the particular wire. So it is like this. This is, let's say, the wire suspended from the ceiling, and we are given to understand that we pull it with the help of some weight attached to it. Well, it means the force here is nothing but the weight, and the cross-sectional area is A. So the definition of longitudinal stress gives that it is equal to longitudinal force. In this case, it will be weight per unit area. So option 2 is the correct one. It was quite easy one. Let's move on. So here it is given that there are two solid objects. One is solid sphere whose mass is m and the radius is r, and then we have another hollow sphere whose mass is m and the radius is r. Both the objects are having equal mass and equal radius, and we are supposed to calculate the ratio of the radius of gyration when they rotate about their own axis. Well, first of all, for the solid sphere, what is the moment of inertia about this axis? It is equal to 2 by 5 mr square, and we know that all the moment of inertia can be equated with mk square. In this case also it will be equal to mk2 square, but the value of the moment of inertia in terms of mass and radius for hollow sphere, and it is thin hollow, it will be 2 by 3 mr square. Now when I divide both of them, k1 square divided by k2 square will give me 2 by 5 by 2 by 3. This will be equal to k1 by k2 equal to square root of 3 by 5. I cannot see any answer, therefore I think this will be bonus mark. Let's move on. Here a circuit is given, a section of the circuit is given, and we are supposed to find the equivalent capacitance between A and B. So this particular capacitor is in series with this unit. This unit is, let's say, C2. So C2 is equal to 3 plus 3 equal to 6. Therefore, the equivalent capacitance between point A and point B will be equal to C1 multiplied by C2 divided by C1 plus C2. So 3 into 6, 3 plus 6. So this will be equal to 3 into 6 divided by 9. So this will be equal to 2 microfarad. Let's move on. Here in this question, it is given that a football player is moving southward and then suddenly turns eastward with same speed to avoid an opponent. And in this particular process, the force that acts on the player is in a particular direction, and we have to find that direction. So to understand, let's say this is my east, this is north, this is south, and this is west. The player was moving like this. Let's say this is something the player was moving. Let's say v1 was the velocity, and then the footballer turns eastward. That's what we understand. Now what do you mean by the force? Here in this case, it is speed is mentioned, so it is something to deal with the velocity. We know that net force experienced by a particular object is equal to ma, and the direction of force is given by the direction of acceleration. Well, what is acceleration? Change of velocity. So direction of the change will give the direction of the force. Now this is nothing but the vector subtraction, v2 minus v1. How to take v2 minus v1? I will draw one minus v1 here, and I will join this line. So v2 minus v1. So this will be, I'm sorry, I should join it here. So this will be V1. So the direction of the change will be like this. So it will be towards northeast. So force will be towards northeast. Let's move on. In this question, one integration is mentioned and it is well-known integration. This is nothing but the total electric flux through a closed surface, and this is given to be 0. We know that according to Gauss law, total electric flux through a closed surface should be equal to the net charge inside it divided by the epsilon naught in free space. Well, here it is given to be 0. It means net charge inside is 0. Let's read the statements one by one. Start with the statement number 4, option number 4. It says that electric field inside the surface is necessarily uniform. Remember one thing, even if it is not uniform, still this particular total flux can be equal to 0. So it is not confirming that one. All the charges must necessarily be inside the surface. Well, see, first of all, if the flux is 0, inside the net charge inside is 0, and the statement says that all the charges must necessarily be inside the surface. Some charges may be outside also. Even if there was no charge inside, still it will be 0. Even if two equal charges are there but opposite in nature, still charge is 0, electric flux will be 0. So this cannot confirm. Magnitude of electric field on the surface is constant. It cannot confirm. Here it is given that number of flux line entering the surface must be equal to the number of flux line leaving it. So this statement is correct. So it is, since electric field is the vector quantity, so this statement is correct. Here it is given that the potential energy of a long spring, it is traced by 2 centimeter. The potential energy of a spring when it is traced by 2 centimeter, it is found to be U. If I trace the same spring with a different extension, let's say 8, what will be the potential energy? Well, the relationship between potential energy of a spring is given by this one. So potential energy is directly proportional to the extension square. Thereby, when the potential energy was U, the extension given was 2 centimeter. And we have to find the potential energy when extension will be 8 centimeter. So it will be equal to 4 square multiplied by U. Answer is 16 U. Let's move on. This question mentions that this galvanometer that is given in the circuit deflects no current. That means the current through this segment between this point up to this point, there is no current. And we are supposed to calculate the value of this resistance. Well, let's say this point is A and this point is V. Therefore, we can see that this resistance and this cell both are parallel to each other. Well, it means that the voltage across the resistance is equal to 2 volt. Now, if I want to calculate the resistance, then how I can do this? According to Ohm's law, the voltage is equal to the amount of current passing through the resistance equal to multiplied by resistance. And in this case, if I want to calculate the value of the resistance, it will be equal to 2 by I. Now, since I do not know I, let's look into different aspect. Since there is no current passing through the galvanometer, so entire current will be passing like this. So I will apply KVL or Ohm's law, whatever you can. So here it will be equal to 10 volt. It should be equal to 400 multiplied by I. Voltage across R is 2. So it will be 2. Therefore, 400 I will be equal to 8, or I will be equal to 8 divided by 400. So this is 2 into 10 power minus 2. If I fit this here it will be equal to 10 power minus 2, so answer will be 100 ohm. Let's move on. Here in this question it is given that there is a transformer and the transformer is ideal. It means the power of input and the power of output, they are equal. Now let's read the question. A 12 volt 60 watt lamp is connected to the secondary part of the step down transformer whose primary is connected to AC mains of 220 volt, and we are supposed to calculate the current in the primary circuit. Well, so power in the primary should be equal to power in the secondary, and thereby if I write down the power formulas, corresponding power formulas, they will look like this. Primary voltage mentioned in the question is 220. Primary current is something that we have to find, and this power is the demand power, which is 60. So 60 divided by 220, I think the answer will be option 1. Let's move on. So here in this question it is mentioned that a full wave rectifier circuit consists of two p-n junction diodes, a center tapped transformer, capacitor, and a load resistance. Which of the component remove the AC ripple? Well, capacitor can remove the varying current. Therefore, these ripples can be reduced by capacitor, and capacitor in fact acts as filter. Here it is given that light travels a distance x in time t1 in air and 10x in time t2 in another denser medium. What is the critical angle for this medium? Critical angle is something that we study in total internal reflection. We know that critical angle is nothing but the cutoff angle. If the angle of incident is less than critical angle, then light will suffer refraction. But if the angle of incident is more than critical angle, then light will suffer total internal reflection if it goes from denser medium to the rarer medium. The expression for the critical angle I will simply write down. Let's say this is my denser medium and this is my rarer medium. Let's say refractive index n1, here it is n2. Since it is mentioned about distance and time gives nothing but the speed, so I will write down the corresponding speeds. So critical angle is nothing but this is n1 divided by n2. We also know that the refractive index is nothing but it inversely proportional to the speed. In first case, what is the speed? Speed is equal to rarer medium is air, so this is x by t1. In this case it will be equal to 10x by t2. So let me put the values. So this is 10x by t2, this is x by t1. Thereby if I cancel this, it will be equal to 10 of t1 by t2, so sine of I. So I think option number 4 will be the answer. In fact, yes. This is based on the color code resistance. The value of the resistor is already given, and we have to identify the third band of the color code. And we know that color code resistor means, suppose this is my color code resistor, 3 bands will be together like this and 1 band will be tolerance. This is first band, this is second band, and this is the third band. Now the value of the resistor, it is given 22,000 plus minus tolerance, some tolerance. So I will write it like this, 10 into 10 power 3, and this is plus minus 5%. So I do not have to bother about this one. So first one, if I know that it is black, brown, red, orange, white. So this is 0, 1, this is 2, 3, 4. So first 2 indicates red, R and R, and the third, the multiplier, it is nothing but the orange. So answer is orange. So let's move on. So 2 statements are given. Let's read one by one. It is said that the photovoltaic devices can convert optical radiation into electricity. Yes, it is correct. Second statement, Zener diode is designed to operate under reverse bias in breakdown region. Yes, this statement is also correct. So both the statements are correct. Let's move on. The magnetic energy is stored in an inductor of inductance this 4 microhenry when it carries current 2 ampere is equal to what? First of all, the corresponding formula is this one, U equal to half of L I square. So half into 4 into 10 power minus 6, because micro is mentioned, 2 square. So this will be equal to 2. So this is 8 into 10 power minus 6. So answer is option 4. The angular acceleration of a body moving along the circumference of a circle is, so it's a plane rotation. In case of plane rotation, what we have is that the direction of angular velocity is given by right hand cross rule, and if this velocity changes, then angular acceleration will come. If this velocity changes, then acceleration will come. So the angular acceleration and its direction, it is given by along the axis of rotation. Along the axis of rotation. So option 4. Here it is mentioned that there is a Carnot engine, and this Carnot engine has the efficiency 50%. And when the source temperature, and this 50% efficiency is something that we get when the source temperature is 327 degrees centigrade, and we are supposed to find the sink temperature. Well, if I convert this into Kelvin, what I get is that I get 27 plus 273, it is equal to 600. So let me write down the efficiency formula, 1 minus T2 by T1. So this will be equal to 50% means half, 1 minus T2 divided by 600. So this will be equal to T2 by 600 equal to half. So T2 will be equal to 300 Kelvin. If I convert this into centigrade, this will be 27 degree centigrade. So option 1 is the answer. Let's move on. Here it is mentioned that two bodies of mass m and 9m are placed at a distance r separated by them. Let's say this is m and this is 9m. Separation distance is r. The gravitational potential on the line joining the body where the gravitational field equals 0 will be equal to what? So primarily we have to find the gravitational potential, and we have to find the gravitational potential at a point where the gravitational field is 0. Well, first of all, the gravitational potential will be equal to potential due to this m1 and potential due to this m2. For point particle, we know how to calculate the gravitational potential. We need the distance. Let's say from m the distance is x, and from 9m the distance is r minus x, and we have to calculate this distance. Therefore I keep this v1 and v2 for the time being, and I focus on calculating the distance. How? The condition mentioned in the question is that the gravitational field at point P is 0. Well, if at P the gravitational field is 0, then gravitational field due to m1 should be equal to gravitational field due to m2. So I will write down the gravitational field G m divided by x square. It should be equal to G 9m divided by r minus x square. So this will be equal to r minus x by x whole square equal to 9. So this will be equal to r by x, it will be equal to 3. So r minus x equal to 3x. So this will be equal to 4x, or x should be equal to r by 4. So x is equal to r by 4. If x is equal to r by 4, so r minus x will be equal to 3 by 4r. Now I will continue the calculation. Gravitational potential for the point particle, it is given by minus gm by distance. In this case it is r by 4 and g9m divided by 3 by 4r. For gm divided by r minus, this will be equal to, this 4 will go up, 3 will be cancelled with this 9, so this will be 12 gm divided by r. So I think the answer will be 16 minus 16 gm divided by r. So let's move on. This is a very old question. A vehicle travels half of the distance with a speed v1, and the v1 is given, let's say v, and the half of the distance, the rest of the half of the distance with v2, which is 2v. What is the average speed? Well, average speed is nothing but the total distance by total time. Okay, but we already know the formula for this. This is 2v1 v2 v1 plus v2. Well, if you cannot remember this, of course you can calculate it like this. Thus it is s, and this will be equal to t1 plus t2. This distance is t1 and t2, so t1 in this case it will be equal to, if I consider this to be as, this to be as, both the halves, so this will be equal to v1 as by v1, and we will get this one. So if I put the values v into 2v, this will be 3v, so answer will be 4v by 3. So option 3 is the correct one. Here it is given that amount of energy required to form a soap bubble of radius 2 cm from the soap solution is nearly equal to what? So it's a straightforward formula. The energy of soap bubble, it is equal to, since it has two surface, therefore 2 times the surface tension multiplied by the area. So therefore 2 into 0.03 the surface tension multiplied by area, 4 pi r square. 2 into, this is 3 into 10 power minus 2 into 4 into 3.14 into 2 square, so this will be 4 into 10 power minus 4. And if we solve it, I think answer should come as option number 3, 3 point approximate answer. Let's move on. Here it is given that the minimum wavelength of X-rays produced by an electron accelerated through a potential difference of V volt is proportional to what? So we know that in case of the production of X-rays, the electrical energy is given to electrons. Electron accelerates, and then the energy is given utilized in order to produce the X-rays. So in this case, this electrical energy is converted to the energy of the photon or the X-ray. Therefore, when we talk about the cutoff wavelength, so basically it is inversely proportional to V. The half-life of a radioactive substance is 20 minutes. In how much time the activity of substance dropped to 1 by 16th of its initial value? Well, first of all, let's say this is the present activity, this is the initial activity. So according to the question, this fraction is 16. We also know that this activity is like this, where this n is the number of half-life, We also know this n is nothing but the total time divided by the half-life. Now in this case, this is 16. So I just think that for what value of n this will be 16. It appeals to me that it is nothing but, it should be nothing but 4. Should be nothing but 4. So what will be the time? Time will be equal to n multiplied by half-life. So this is 4 into 20. So it will be 80. So answer is 80 minute. This question belongs to the error. According to this question, it is mentioned that there is a wire. The mass of the wire is given to be this one, radius of the wire is given to be this one, and length of the wire is this one. And we are supposed to calculate the maximum possible error in the measurement of density. Well, first of all, that measurement of density means density is the mass divided by the volume. When we talk about the wire is nothing but the solid cylinder. So pi r square L. Now if I want to write down in form of the error, relative error or the percentage error, it will be like this. So this m by m, pi carries no error, so this radius will carry error and this will also carry error, and we have to multiply at last with 100. So we have to put the values. This is my del m 0.002 divided by 0.4 multiplied by 2 into the radius resolution is given 0.001 divided by 0.3, 0.025, and then we have to multiply it by 100. And I think when we calculate, the answer should come approximately 1.6. Let's move on. Let's read the question. It says that in a plane electromagnetic wave traveling in free space, the electric field component oscillates sinusoidally at a frequency of this, and the amplitude is this. So we know that electromagnetic wave, EM wave, has two components. One is electric field, one is B. The magnitude of the amplitude of the electric field in the question, it is mentioned to be 48 in SI unit. We are supposed to calculate the magnitude of the magnetic field. Well, and here it is mentioned that it is in the free space. We know that E by B is nothing but C. Therefore, B will be equal to E by C. Frequency is not required. So 48 divided by 3 into 10 power. So this will be equal to 16. So 16 into 10 power minus 8, 1.6 into 10 power minus 7. So option 3 is the correct one. The temperature of a gas is 50 centimeter. I'm sorry, minus 50 centigrade. To what temperature the gas should be heated so that the RMS speed is increased by 3 times? First of all, the RMS speed of a gas, it is proportional to temperature, we know. Now in this case it is mentioned that, let's say initially the speed, RMS speed was V. At the time the temperature was equal to minus 50 degrees centigrade. If I convert this into Kelvin, because this is the absolute temperature, then what I get is that it is 223 Kelvin, right? The question is, what should be the temperature if the velocity becomes, or this RMS speed becomes 3 times the original one? Well, so I will simply write down this ratio. It should be equal to square root of, this is T2 and this is 223. I square both sides, this will be 9 T20. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. To RMS speed should be increased. Increased means initially it was V, so finally it will be 4V. So this is 4V. So 16. So 16 equal to T2 223. So T2 will be equal to 16 into 23. And so let's say this is 200. So it will be at least more than, it should be more than 3200. So definitely this option should be the answer. So next one, it is mentioned that an AC source is connected to a capacitor due to and then it is given that due to decrease in its operational frequency, which cause will be correct? Well, operational frequency, I will consider this omega. Let's check options one by one. First of all, capacitive reactance remains constant. Well, capacitive reactance means omega C. Now, if we decrease this one, then definitely this will increase, so it will not remain constant. So capacitive reactance will decrease, it mentioned. This is also incorrect. Let's talk about the current. The current will be equal to V0 divided by XC multiplied by some sign of thing. So current will be proportional to this V0 omega C. If we increase this omega, I will increase. So option 3 will be correct, because when we decrease this omega, current will also decrease. Next one. Here it is mentioned that there's a young double slit experiment, and it is given that if screen is moved away from the plane of the slits, the angular separation of the fringe remains constant. Well, this angular separation, it basically depends on this small d, not the separation between screen and the slit. It depends on the wavelength. So first statement, it says it remains constant. Yes, it remains constant. It is correct. And then it is said that if the monochromatic source is replaced by another monochromatic source of larger wavelength, if this is large, the angular separation of the fringe, it decreases. No, if the wavelength increases, the angular separation also increases. So this is incorrect. So statement 1 is correct and 2 is false. In this question, it is mentioned that in hydrogen spectrum, the shortest wavelength in the Balmer series is lambda. What is the shortest wavelength in the bracket series? That's the question. Well, first of all, this is governed by the Rydberg formula. Let's say for Balmer series, 1 by lambda equal to, what do you understand by the shortest wavelength? For Balmer, N1 should be equal to 2, and shortest means the energy should be highest, so it should jump from infinity. So it is equal to 2 square, and this is 0. So this will be equal to R by 4, or simply this is equal to 4 by R. Next, we have to calculate for bracket series. For bracket, N1 should be equal to 4, and again we have to calculate the shortest wavelength. Shortest wavelength should, it means that energy should be highest, therefore it should jump from infinity. Let's say in that case the wavelength is lambda dash, so this will be equal to 16, 4 square 16, and this is 0, so lambda dash will be equal to 16 by R. So if it is 16 by R, what does it mean? 4 into 4, so this is 4 into lambda, so option 2 is the correct one. Let's move on. It is given that work function of cesium, potassium, sodium, all the alkali metals are given. So these are the some values are given, and on that metal some incident electromagnetic radiation will incident, and the energy is 2.20 electron volt. I am assuming that it is talking about 1 photon 1 electron. Indeed it is true, because it is mentioned in the electron volt unit, and we are supposed to identify which metal surface will give photoelectrons. Okay, we know that for 1 electron, so the energy of 1 photon should be more than the work function. So in this case, definitely, if I see that the incident energy is more for cesium, so only cesium will give the photoelectrons, not others. Let's move on. The error in the measurement which arise due to unpredictable fluctuation in temperature and voltage supply are unpredictable. Instrumental errors are predictable. Least count errors are very much predictable. Personal errors are also predictable. Random error, it is unpredictable. Simple question, there's a LCR circuit. L, the value of the L, the inductor, it is given 10 millihenry, which means 10 power minus 2 Henry. Capacitance is equal to 1 microfarad, so 10 power minus 6 farad, and we are supposed to calculate the frequency at which the resonance occurs. Well, two units are given, radian per second, and these are given in kilohertz. Okay, so resonance frequency will be equal to, in hertz, it will be equal to 2 pi LC. Let's calculate that one. So this is 2 into 3.14, 10 power minus 2 into 10 power minus 6. This will be equal to 1 by 1 8 into, so this is 10 power minus 8 equal to, I assume that this is 1 by 6, so let's say this is 0.16 into 10 power minus, this is 4. This is only the approximate, so this will be equal to 1.6 into 10 power 3, or simply 1.6 kilohertz. So approximately, when we calculate, the answer comes to be option number 4. Let's move on. The Venturimeter works on what principle? Venturimeter, it is basically an instrument which measures the speed of streamlined fluid by measuring the pressure difference. So it is based on the Bernoulli principle. The ratio of fundamental harmonics produced by open pipe to the closed pipe having the same length equal to what? Well, if I consider one open pipe, this is the fundamental harmonic. So in this case, this length is enclosing half of the wavelength, and in the closed pipe of the same length, it will only enclose a quarter of the wavelength. So in this case, the fundamental frequency will be equal to velocity of the sound divided by 2L. On the other hand, in the closed organ pipe, this will be equal to V divided by 4L. And when we take the ratio of the frequencies, V by 2L, V by 4L, so this should come 2:1. Let's move on. It is given that an electric dipole is placed at an angle of 30 degree with an electric field whose intensity is this one. Then it experiences a torque whose value is this one, and we have to calculate the magnitude of the charge on the dipole. Dipole length is also given. So the magnitude of torque, it is given to be 4 Newton. Let me write down all the data. So this is torque. Then the electric field intensity, it is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per coulomb. It is given in SI unit. Angle given, it is 30 degree, and the dipole length, it is given 2 centimeter. We should not write down 2 here, so it is the total length. Now let me write down the formula. This magnitude of torque is nothing but P multiplied by E sine of theta. So this is 4 equal to, what is my dipole? Well, dipole equal to charge multiplied by length. So this is multiplied by this L. Charge multiplied by 2 into 10 power minus 2, because it is in the Celsius unit, so I have to convert this. 2 into 10 power 5, and sine of 30 is nothing but the half. So this is Q. 2, then this will be equal to 3 and Q. So this will be equal to 2 into 10 power minus 3. So this is 2 millicoulomb, option 4. Let's move on. Here in this question, a circuit is given and we are supposed to find the magnitude and the direction of the current flowing in the circuit. First of all, two cells are given. It's a very simple cell. Therefore, since this EMF, the EMF of this particular cell is more, therefore the current will be driven according to this. So current will be like this. This will be the direction of the current. So direction of the current will be from A to B. A to B. So this option 1 and option 4, it should be incorrect. Now this A mentioned here, it is ampere. Anyway, let's calculate the current. So we can apply Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, whatever way you can apply. So the net EMF is equal to the amount of current multiplied by the equivalent resistance. Okay, so current will be equal to net EMF divided by the equivalent resistance. So this will be equal to 10 minus 5 divided by equivalent resistances. All are in series, so this will be equal to 10. So 5 by 10, it will be equal to half, equal to 0.5. So option 2 is correct one. So let's move on. The net magnetic flux through any closed surface. So what do you understand by the magnetic flux? It is again based on the Gauss law on magnetism. We know that magnetic monopole does not exist. That's why this particular integral becomes equal to 0. Therefore net magnetic flux is always 0. It's a straightforward question from the inclined projectile. There's a bullet fired at the speed of 280 meter per second, and then the angle given is 30 degree, and we are supposed to find the maximum height, and then this angle is mentioned with the horizontal. So let's calculate. So height is equal to u square sine square theta divided by 2g. So this is 280 into 280 multiplied by this is square sine 30 and 2 into 9.8. Even if you take 10, you can predict the answer because all the options are way different from each other. So I think after calculation, option 3 will be correct.